Welcome to the Association 100 podcast. The A100 podcast is an extension of our Association 100 bi-monthly newsletter that focuses on best practices, top trends, helpful ideas, and smart strategies and tactics that work in the world of associations. The podcast will feature meaningful conversations with association professionals across the country, taking a deeper dive into trending topics, offering insights that both inform and inspire.
Welcome back to the A100 podcast. I'm Colin Gallagher along with my co-host Megan Henning. We're broadcasting live from ASAE and we're so excited to welcome Eduardo Arabu, CEO of the National Hispanic Corporate Council. Thanks for joining us today, Eduardo.
Thank you for the invitation. Look forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. I wanted to talk about DEI and how it's really become a need to have for associations in today's world to meet the needs and desires of their members. Could you share some best practices and strategies for associations that are trying to enhance their DI efforts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great question. I think we have to first start off why we're doing diversity, equity, and inclusion type initiative. It should be embedded in the organizational culture, but if it's not, those are opportunity to be more competitive. So as we look here in the United States, our demographic is shifting, becoming more and more multicultural, more and more diverse. What are the opportunities to be more equitable, inclusive, to make the workplace more productive, and also serve our members as associations? So that competitiveness piece is important to help drive the human capital, the talent side, the HR, the folks who drive these associations, but also on the customer side, your members, your audience, your stakeholders, and so forth. All of that is changing as well. So it's a unique opportunity to be on the foresight and look at DEI as a best practice for competitiveness and corporate organizational performance.
And I think what's so interesting with the younger generation too is they are the most diverse generation. And so it's almost an expectation, which is really, I think, helping drive companies towards, like you said, moving on those that don't have it embedded already. Hopefully in 10, 15 years, that's a different conversation. And it is just naturally embedded already in so many companies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we are now in a 5-generation workforce type of situation where more and more diverse people are coming into a certain organization and association. And so that was the opportunity to be more inclusive of that and to tap into that. The younger generation do require a little bit more of intentionality, and they're starting to ask questions about how do I see myself in future development roles and other opportunities as well. So they're a little bit more in requesting and want to learn before they choose an employer, what are some of those initiatives that they're taking on.
One of the things that I'm wondering is for some of the associations that haven't really gotten on board with having DEI embedded in them, what could you tell them about the importance of having such a multicultural workforce?
Yeah, going back to the business case, is just looking at the numbers, the data, where the demographic shift is happening. And that's going to make an impact on, as an association leader, how do you make your strategic plan moving forward? Again, it's going to impact your stakeholders, your customer, your relation with certain communities, and things like that. So I think it's important to start there with that information, that awareness piece, that learning and development piece, and then look at what comes out of the innovation, competition,
Yes.
new emerging thought, diverse perspective, things that, hey, we didn't think about that or we didn't consider that. An opportunity comes out of that. And so by surrounding your leadership team, the board of directors, your staff, your stakeholders, more diverse, more inclusive of women, people of color, people from all over the world, give you that competitive advantage over other organizations and allows you to see the world differently and allows you to drive that organization through those inclusivity lens.
Yeah, I love that answer. That's great. So true.
Yeah. And once you take that lens and that look, what are some actionable steps associations can take to be more inclusive and to be thinking about DEI? What are things they can put into practice?
Yeah, I look at it as a 2 or 3-step process. First, look inward, do an analysis of where you're at, where do you want to be, and how do you get yourself there, and the organization leading it there. Top down starts with the board of directors, who is not at the table making these decisions. If it's a certain group, you may need more women, diverse male, diverse gender. geographical location, upbringing, all sorts of themes that fall under diversity. And so making sure that everyone has a seat at the table, so to speak, that are able to share some of their thought leadership, best practices, things like that. So the board level is important. The C-suite is important, succession planning as well. If you've been in an organization that's always had a certain leader for the last 50 years or 100 years, maybe it's time for something different. Let's give it a try. What's the worst that can happen, right? And so again, giving those opportunity, pipeline program for staff, and then really being intentional, reaching out to communities who are typically not involved in nonprofit associations and so forth, just because I think most of us did not dream to one day be association executive or leader, nor did we go to school for
It's
that. We
definitely
kind
a
of got
field you
pulled
fall
in.
into.
Yeah, exactly. And so imagine if we could just go back to colleges and high schools and the youth and say, hey, look at this world of opportunity that you have here, and many other pathways that you can create for yourself. So I think that's important. So again, top down, grassroots up as well, supporting the next generation. And then looking at your peers in your industry, looking at other nonprofit association, looking at what maybe corporate America or even government sector are doing for their specific initiatives and programs as well to compare, benchmark, see where you're at. Are we and then bring someone with cultural competency that can help you. If it's a African American strategy, someone who can talk about cultural component to leading DEI. If it's Hispanic American, you have that opportunity as well for that. Again, just to summarize, top down, looking inward, looking at best practices externally, and then bringing someone on board to coach you, guide you, consult, advise that approach.
I think that is so smart. So
Right.
while we've been here at ASA, we had a conversation with a woman who said that she was in an industry that was primarily male. And she'd been in a meeting discussing we need women and people of color and all of this. And in the next meeting she went to, there would be an entire panel of men. And she said, we cannot have this. We can't go from one conversation and then not implement something into action. And so she said that looking inward, she said, we looked at the whole corporation and I thought, I am not going to have an all male panel ever again. And I think that is so true. But it seems so easy to say, oh, of course you should look inward. But I don't think that everyone is doing that. Because even when she said it to me, I thought that is great because we've all seen a panel with just
Four
one
white men.
all white men. Yes, exactly. And think this is not representative, certainly of the industry or the planet or anything like that. So I think that's really great advice for our listeners.
Yeah, sometimes you try to plan it, sometimes sponsorship deals or certain
Right.
individuals, it comes out to a certain group on a panel. But being intentional outreach, your call for proposal, really looking at it and say, we have four certain group speaker, can we do another round of call? Can we call a few organizations? Who can help us? Can ASAE step in or other organization and refer individuals and make that happen? I think it's important. But again, looking inward, having leadership decide this is the plan, and having someone lead you with that plan that's not the CEO can help you when you get stuck or
Yeah.
in a crossroad or you're running 100 miles an hour and you're like, oh, I didn't realize that panel was all certain group. And so
Right.
having that individual to support that effort is critical as well.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. I think the key word you said there was intention.
Yes.
Makes all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Intentionality is the effort, the outreach, the intention of trying. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes the talent pool or the speaker pool or anything like that may not result in what you're looking for. But DEI with intentionality start to see result and progress and moving the needle towards that direction.
Absolutely.
Right. You can't just hope and be like, we'd
No,
like things to change. You have to
exactly.
do something about it.
And representation does matter because if you don't see it, you don't believe it can happen. So you do need to be able to put together a multi-diverse panel because again, the planet is multi-diverse. Your customers are multi-diverse, your audience. And if you don't see it, you don't believe it, right? So we do need to see it.
I agree.
So shifting gears a little bit, you talked about that next generation leadership. and you're an ASAE Delp Scholar. So for our listeners that don't know what that is, can you give us a little background, but then tell us what insights you've gained from that participation in that program?
Yeah, absolutely. So we just started the 2023-2025 class for the Delp Scholar, that is Diversity Executive Leadership Program in its 23rd year. And it's a 2-year fellowship sponsored by ASAE and Visit Detroit that offers the opportunity to career development, professional development, being able to participate and take the CAE exam, and just be surrounded by a community of fellow peers who are looking for your success, looking to support that, elevate you. And so you're just showered with resources, opportunity, networking, invitation to ASAE programming, online, all sorts of different cool activities that will help us prepare, be better leaders for tomorrow, and continue on our journey there.
That's great.
I love that. We actually had a podcast guest on earlier in the year who I don't know if he'd participated in the program or had someone involved in it, but was so impressed with it. At their association, they launched a similar executive leadership program around. So I'm really excited. We told him we'd have him back on next year to see how the first year went. But I love seeing ASA set that example, and other associations have a model they can follow to do similar things within their industry, their executives, members as well.
Absolutely. That's a great summary of what we've been talking about over the last few minutes. Looking inward, we need our own program. Looking outside, who has a best-in-class program? Who has something similar that we can model after that? And then having someone take that charge and lead for that particular group. And there goes the intentionality for that association, pipeline, and so forth.
Yeah. Do you think there's other ways to empower and mentor those younger professionals? Because I feel like that's a pain point we hear about from every association. How do we engage the younger members, get them more involved? What do you think is the solution there?
I think for engagement, it's looking at the value proposition. Why should I join this organization? Why should I be a part of it? I'm let's say, a working professional. Why should I be part of this society or this group? And so it's part of the leadership to tell that story, that narrative, and what they're trying to accomplish, and then do the outreach and bring them on board. We're going on this journey. We want you to be a part of this journey. And these are the different ways that you can collaborate, from volunteerism to conference selection to all sorts of different cool engagement. And here's a chance to give back. And so I think most of us, as we grow into our career, want to give back, want to participate, looking to find fellow peers, an individual like-minded that we can have conversation and growth and things like that. So I think that's important on the engagement side. There's a lot of mentorship programs that helps individuals mobilize their career, but what is often not talked about is sponsorship. And sponsorship is where you're getting, again, intentionality is where the C-suite or leadership are grooming you to bring you up the ranks of your association. And so sponsorship, you get the critical component, the fundamental, the knowledge, and so forth. But the sponsorship is the individual who talks about you when you're not in the room.
Yes. Oh, I really
that's
love
so
that.
good.
Yes.
Right?
That's
And so
true.
that is where growth and development and folks of certain demographics that are starting to move up in their rank. And so that sponsorship is critical. And I think every C-suite leader should have a series of individuals that they're focusing on in terms of replacement, pipeline, and things like that.
I feel like you've answered my next question, because my next question was going to be, what do you think is next for associations in building upon some of this? But I love that. I don't know why have we never thought of that? But that's such a great point, because I do think that you have these, as we talked about in the beginning, that you end up falling into an association. And working in an association is such a wonderful experience. There's so many fabulous people, but I wonder if there are ways to attract someone either right out of college, out of any new jobs, to say what a great role these are. And it's not just 50-year-old people. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes that's a piece of associations. That's what everyone thinks, that there's not a lot of younger people. And I'm just wondering your thoughts on bringing in more younger people intentionally into associations, as
Sure.
opposed to having them fall into it.
Yeah, no, great question. I think to summarize and give you a quick answer is sector branding. That is what is needed
So
here
important.
in this area. And so typically what happens is you become a professional in a certain industry or sector, And then as you progress into maybe your 40s, 50s, and 60s, you're looking for more calm life, less travel, less so forth. And you start to look at nonprofit of the ways of giving back. You look at association because of your experience and expertise and network and things like that. How do we get some of that for the younger group to be an employer of choice, a sector of choice in the beginning?
Yes.
And so with mentorship, with sponsorship, with job shadowing, the internship formality, and by the way, paid internship. I have to advocate for that.
100%.
Paid
Yes.
internship, paid apprenticeship, those type of programs that come check us out, see what we're all about, and allow that individual to explore, see themselves there, see the opportunities, and so forth. So I think it's a sector branding. It's a collective effort. Doesn't fall on one association or one society. And so I think if we can get the word out, but now we have great tools,
Yes.
social media, we have video, Snapchat, right, all sorts of different things. So if we can put some effort around that, I think we can encourage the next generation to take a look at us before they go off somewhere else.
Yes. Agreed. I like that.
Yeah, love that. On that note, before we let you go, we want to ask our just for fun question. So this is our lightning round to let everyone get to know you a little better. So first off, where'd you grow up?
So I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, South America, but I grew up in Chicago, Illinois.
Very nice. What's your Starbucks order?
I'm an iced coffee guy and I like variety. So whatever is the special of the month or the flavor of
like
the
it.
season and so forth. So I just give it a try. You're always coming up with new stuff.
Yes.
That's great. If you won the lottery tomorrow, would you still work?
Absolutely. I think so too. I think for me, the opportunity to contribute, to make an impact, a reason to get up in the morning, all of that, I'm still have that energy and drive. Now, if I'm a little bit older, maybe I can consider early
Answer might
retirement
change.
and so forth. But yeah, we love to do great things, family, personal, but also give back to the community, scholarship, things like that.
It's great.
That's awesome. Good answer. What's the last show you binge watched?
I'm a big fan of The Office.
Oh,
So
Uh,
good. We
it
love
just-
The Office.
Yes.
And I've been in so many examples, like I've been there, I've seen that, I had that colleague, that worker, and so forth. So I'm a big fan of The Office and Seinfeld. It's just a
Oh, God,
classic,
yes.
timeless.
So good.
And
So
Yeah.
great.
yeah, so many stuff had happened to me that I remember that episode and things happened to me. So yeah,
Yes.
Good choices. We're both big fans of those.
Yes.
What's your bucket list travel destination?
bucket list travel destination. Love to do a little bit more international stuff. I'd go to anywhere that time allow, resources allowed, and so forth. But our top destination is Dubai. I feel that Dubai is just innovative, the creativity. They're trying to be the best at everything, the tallest everything, the biggest
Yes.
everything. So I think they have some cool stuff, and it'll be interesting to come check it out.
That's very cool. Good thought there. The pictures are just amazing.
Yes.
When you see it, it's
Absolutely,
breathtaking.
yeah.
Yes.
Mhm. The Burj Khalifa,
Yes.
the Palm Island, and the World Island. And I think they're building a ski resort in the middle of the desert.
know.
I'm like, why? But okay,
I
go
know.
ahead.
I want to see how that one works out.
But it's very
Yeah, but I would love to get the
inspiring.
whole experience, the food, the culture, all of that, and not just that particular group, but in Europe and other places, Southeast
Yes.
Asia.
Yeah, we always say we just wish we could have an unlimited travel budget and go
Yes.
everywhere.
Just go where you
Yeah, I need to
want.
join a global travel
Yes.
organization
Yes.
with lots of events and meeting around the world and make it part of a day-to-day thing.
Yes.
Definitely. Also, thank you so much for joining us in the A100 today. This was a great conversation. I know our listeners will really enjoy it and get a lot of great insights from it.
Awesome. Thank you for having me and look forward to future engagement.